Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 294. How you folks doing? It's been a while. For those who weren't aware, I've actually gone out of the office, not even able to log on to the internet or emails or phone calls for the last 2 weeks. I was in the backside of Kodiak Island having an incredible experience with Kodiak brown bears. All the posts and podcasts you saw had been recorded and posted and scheduled before I left. And I'm telling you all this because some of you sent some emails. One, I'm sorry, you said it was time sensitive and was upset because I didn't answer back right away. My apologies, but I don't live on the internet. I try to get away as much as possible. So I am in the process of catching up on all those emails. I will get an answer to all those who sent one in. Thanks for reaching out. I do appreciate it. Just as I appreciate you stopping on by and spending a little time with me today. Also want to thank my good friend at Bedford's Camera, bedfords.com. There are a bunch of really killer Nikon rebates right now on bodies and lenses. Now, Bedford's already has some incredibly rock low prices. And then you add that 5% off for the Moose discount and the Nikon rebates, and it might be just a good time for you to check it out. Maybe add that piece of gear you've always desired. Some of you are at the Kelby One conference. I appreciate your comments and questions. And yes, Bedford's is the place. Great deals, great service, great price. Home of the Moose discount. Thank you, Bedford's, for sponsoring the Moose podcast and helping us photographers move one click forward every day. I'm going to get into this week's podcast, The Click. When we go click with that camera, so much is happening. So much. And it's really important. For example, like I talked about at the gear conference, you can change, with the click of a button, the programming on your camera and customize it to fit your photography. That's a really important click. You can, in so many ways, modify, change, customize your workflow with just a click. But that's not the click I'm talking about. Nope. I'm talking about something that, well, it came to mind as I am preparing my classes for the upcoming Kelby One Make Money with Your Photography conference. Not sure the official name. I know money's in there somewhere. But as I was out on those grass flats, listening to just nature, knowing that no one could find me, my mind was a-spinning at times. And one of them, as I was looking through the viewfinder, was the click. When you're in the business of photography, it's sometimes really helpful, both financially and creatively, to know what's been photographed already. What has been not only photographed, but put out there in the public for viewing, for sharing, for education, for knowledge. Now, why is that important? Well, for some cases, there's probably no use for you business-wise making that click because you don't have a market for it. On the other hand, there's every reason to make those clicks when it hasn't been done already. So that's one example. I'm going to talk about some more. But you could say the click, in my mind, also happens to do with that rare photograph. Now, that rare photograph, I'm not talking about, the upside down airmail stamp the post office has out there. There's only like 10 of them. That's not that kind of rare. I am talking about the shots. For example, earlier this year, there was 2 or 3 folks in Yellowstone who photographed a wolverine on the road. Now, photographing a wolverine, period, in the wild is incredibly rare. In Yellowstone, it's just another, rare squared. And then to get those video clips, rare squared, if such a thing exists. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. That kind of rare. And in defining rare, I think you can help yourself with the click. Before I ever go on any trip, I always go through my photographs if I've been to that location before. If it's a new location, it's one that I have not traveled to, I go online and do an image search. Some of the images I see, I know are yours. A couple of you I see are really great at sharing. And I look at your photographs and go, wow, I want that photograph. And in that instance, the rare is I don't even have it in my files. And when I add a new critter to my files, which still happens, which is fun, there's a couple of things that happen. And all comes down to the click. Now, the first part is going to sound a bit on the silly side, but what can I tell you? It's just the way I am sometimes. I like to take a photograph of something that I've not photographed before. I've never had glass on it before. And sometimes the very first photograph is just gosh awful. It's horrible. It's what I call breaking the jinx. Jake and I both do that. And the jinx being, we've never had glass on that, whatever that is before, never photographed it. So breaking the jinx is now we have got glass on it and photograph it. Now, when I can break the jinx and right off the bat make some really sweet images, well, that's just an icing on the cake. But I'm talking about the click and how understanding this can help you in making the click. If you have never gone to a location or photographed a critter before and you're doing it for the first time, how do you know? I'm being very serious. How do you know that what you're seeing just standing there, as well as looking through the lens, is the click? What reference are you using to know that what you're photographing is for you unique, special, rare, a must, once in a lifetime, a winner, a keeper? How do you know that? Now, there are definitely some times where shooting for the sake of shooting or shooting because it's a relative's birthday party, I'm not talking about those moments. I'm talking about when you are, loaded for bear. You have planned that trip, whether it's a day trip or a week trip or a trip of a lifetime. You've got that gear. You are just ready to go. I'm talking about those moments. How do you know that what is in the viewfinder is the click? It's the one. I think it's important, and I'm speaking for myself because I know I've tried to instill this in some others and tried to get them to think about it, and it's been a no-go. It's not taken at all. But when you have, especially in this day and age, a camera like the Z9, that I have mentioned that my friend who shot 49,000 images in 9 hours, how do you know, either at the point of capture or when you're going through those images in the computer, which one is the click? That reference point that tells us that this is the one. And I think that reference point is missing in a lot of photographs that I am seeing out there and actions I'm seeing photographers take. How do you get to the point where you know that what you're seeing is that rare moment? It's the click that you need to put your heart and soul in and drop everything else. That's what you got to go get. How do you know that? And I was out there on those grass flats watching those Kodiak brown bears, knowing that in my files is over 101,000, yes, 101,000 photographs of grizzly bears, coastal grizzly bears, and Kodak brown bears. Yet I still kept shooting. And in 2 weeks, I ended up filing about 21,000 images. Of those, I finished about 1,700. Now, as I whittle down those numbers, is there one photograph that is the click? I'm pleased to say that no, there's quite a few more than one that is the click. And I'm measuring that the click in a couple ways. First, and what's kind of important to me is it's a photograph I don't have in my files. That's the start. Number two, it's the photograph that I feel can easily be marketable. Three, it's the perfect complement to an article. And lastly, I've not seen anybody else put that kind of photograph out there. Doesn't mean they haven't taken it, but they haven't put it out there. And as you know, if you've taken a photograph and it's sitting in your hard drive, that's just as good as a coin collection in a closed up drawer in a locked up safe. Looking at lots of images, not just your own, but those contributed by others, magazines, websites, books, presentations. Looking at those photographs, they will start or continue you to think about what is the click. And it's important to understand with some cameras, when you have a limited buffer or haven't got the funds to buy those big cards, and you have a limited amount of buffer or a limited amount of storage space, that you kind of make every single one of those clicks count. What I've referred to back in the old days as sniper mode, where, yeah, I love hitting the hammer on that camera. I love just cranking out pictures. There's just like the biggest rush. But like Ansel Adams says, how many photographs does it take to make the great one? Just the one. Just takes that one, that click, the click. Have you thought about for yourself, your own criteria, what goes into the click? Now, I'm not talking about exposure. That's a given. The exposure has to be dead on in the camera to make the click. Not talking about white balance. Same thing. I'm not talking about depth of focus. I'm not talking about placement of the subject in the frame or the arranging of elements. I am talking about the click and what in your mind needs to appear in your viewfinder to then go through all those steps to make sure the exposure is correct, the white balance is set, the image has been focused on, you've arranged the elements. What is that thing that clicks in your mind that says, this is the one, I've got to make this right? And if that's not happening, why not? Or if you go out and shoot 11,000 images and you're looking through them and you aren't seeing the click, you're not seeing what you see on other people's computers from that experience, why not? Now, there could be a very valid reason that at the time that you were taking pictures and other people taking pictures, at that moment they're clicking, you simply weren't. You were looking at another subject. You were changing batteries in the camera. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you literally weren't making the click. But if you are all clicking at the same time and there was no distractions, why did you get the click? And if you are the one that got the click and the others didn't, how come? Because that's just as important to understand is the not getting the shot. You know, the click is more than the photograph that you put in a photo contest or a show at the camera club. The click is that one that when you look at it, you smile. Inside, you know and have the satisfaction that everything came together and you made that shot and you made that shot, that click. Recognize it when you're out looking, scanning, and knowing what to first target is part of the process of the click. And then knowing the lens and all the settings that you want in the camera is the next part of the click. And then arranging all the elements in the viewfinder, especially light, color, and gesture. The next step in the click. And now, one of the really important steps that I think a lot of photographers just blow is then getting the click out of all the clicks you made at that last shoot or that day or that trip to finding the one that is the click. Yeah, I'm saying the click a lot here. I'm trying to emphasize that we all have in us the click. We all can do it. And we can do it multiple times, repeatedly, over and over again, year after year. Once we start looking for and recognizing the click in our photography. And just as importantly, if you don't do that, you'll never find the click. You will always go wanting. And that's criminal because no photographer should go wanting. It's in all of us, no matter where we're at in our photography, our life, our skills, our camera gear, however you want to slice and dice what you feel is your level of expertise. The click is in you. You just have to be in the click. Think about it. Look at what it is that makes you passionate about photography, about that subject and that storytelling, and you will make the click. Thanks so much for dropping by, guys. You have a marvelous week. And remember to make every click your story.